and hopefully the sound and everything is working out okay. So I was hoping to try and start off in a new account. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see when this logs in. I didn't realise how difficult it was to log out of Google Play, so if this is my normal game, we'll go ahead with that. And it is. So, just where I'm at here now is I'm repairing this Centurion ship, which was out trying to complete a solo event, which I have 50 points remaining to get. So I'm going to do that, I suppose. I'll repair this. Okay, so these events can be quite hard on the repair items, especially if you're using a faction ship. Okay, so that ship's ready to go. And we'll just check in on our alliance and see how we're doing in this event. So of course this solo event links in with the alliance leaderboard. Second place, roughly 3,000 points behind Rog. So I'm not going to make that up, but I'll close the gap a little bit when I complete this. With 110 Alliance Gold Trophy points. So the reason I'm using the Centurion here is because of its increased warp range. I'll give you a look at that now in a second. I have Cadet Scotty available, but this ship already comes equipped with a warp range of 30. And where I'm located in this system has a warp range of 26 required. So anywhere I need to go, the ship needs to be able to make at least warp 26. So I've been taking out some of the hostiles down in these two systems here. So I'll head that way. And for some of you guys that was talking about officer setups, that's who I've got on the bridge. So it's an Enterprise crew with Scotty and Uhura in support to Spock. Looking at this accuracy trait of Spock's. We'll jump in here and we'll look at Uhura and Scotty. Scotty's second ability of total hull health will kick in. And Uhura's ability of accuracy. And that of course will combine with Spock, who is ready to upgrade. And that's something I'll do when I return this ship home. So as captain, he gives me that accuracy at the start of each round of combat. And this is an ability that kicks in with morale. Now that combined with Kirk's ability, one of the guys who has made a few comments on some of the videos has brought to my attention about the synergy between Kirk and Spock, which you'd expect to be part of this game. you'd expect the Kirk and Spock thing to work out particularly well, and with these abilities, so 50-50 chance of inspiring morale, and if it has morale, he'll give a bonus of 40% to all officer stats. That, of course, is drastically improved on Cadet Kirk. It's still not too bad that he gives a boost to officers on the bridge, and it's not too bad that he increases weapon damage, but nothing like the Enterprise Kirk. I commented on one other video before that I would have liked to have seen Spock be an epic status. I think he deserves it. Certainly, he's been around longer than the Nero character, who has an epic status, and Crass would only be a name familiar to people who are really into the whole Star Trek stuff and not just picking up a game and checking out a themed game like this. So we're almost in this system. So we're looking for level 28. The reason we're looking for level 28 is because they give on average a greater amount of reward for this event. So we can see there, anything 28 plus gives 20 points, dramatically improved over a level 27 or 26 hostile. So I have 50 to go, so 2 level 28s, and I might just run into the neighbouring system and hit a few level 26 hostiles to complete that event. Let's see what's around here. So these are Gorn Marauders. That doesn't look like a Gorn to me in that picture, but that's one of the issues with the game, is some of these wee images aren't completely accurate. But we can see when we scan, that's what we're dealing with there, but I'm going to avoid the level 29s if I can. Okay, we'll have to hit a 29 here. And we'll pop next door. Do 5 level 26s. Okay, so I'm out mining Tritanium as well. Anybody watched the previous video where I was talking about this mining trick, where these two ships, if I were parked down somewhere in these lower systems, I wouldn't be able to access these systems unless I had warp 26, which some of these miners, you can see, if you look at the very, very top beside the icon of the captain of that ship, it's warp 22, warp 22. Sure, the Centurion had 30, of course, but that's a warship. Its cargo hold, you can see there's only 25k, whereas the cargo hold on that is 180 and 121 on that one. So I wouldn't be able to reach these systems because they're only warp 22. I could put Cadet Scotty onto the bridge of one of those ships, and then it would make warp 26, and I could go up to these systems here. And the reason I want to go to these type of systems is the nodes inside these systems just contain that little bit extra compared to the lower systems, which means I can go to bed at night and leave a ship mining that overnight. I'm waking up and have a cargo hold of 25k. With 2 ships out, that's 50k. It's no small amount of Tritanium given the way that they've messed with the mining rates. So So I'm parked in Roboton next door, and the wee trick that I was talking about is if you're parked in one of these housing systems around the hub, it doesn't matter the warp of your ship, you can travel within that system or to the hub system in the centre. So you can even use your Fortunate or any ship, doesn't matter how low the warp is, and access any of these systems. And the same principle applies, of course, then down in the lower systems where there exists a hub and surrounding housing systems. So I get the benefit of 2 Warp 22 miners with a decent cargo hold on these higher nodes in a higher system. Now, if you're finding it difficult to get here because you're going, well, like, I need to get Warp 26 first. Well, the same principle applies, like I said, to some of these other systems like Vendus or Suffidae. And you check them out yourself. It's going to tell me that warp required is 26 because I have to pass through Kaisu. But they will be lower, they will be somewhere around 2021, and you can easily, if you're lower level, you can easily get up to this system with a warship, get Cadet Scotty if you have him on the bridge, access the highest system you can go to, the highest hub system that you can go to, call your ship home, use a relocate token to that system, or to one of the housing systems around it, move there, and then any of your ships will be able to access mines and whatever within that system. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody do this. You would only do this in such a situation where you want to get away from somewhere that's really too busy with people your level and go to a place where higher levels who aren't really going to annoy you, and where there are higher capacity nodes to mine on, and you can hope to be left alone. There's a bit of trial and error involved in this here, depending on the server you're on, depending on where people are deciding to gather their alliances and different things. So it's very possible that you could be dealing with hostile players who might not let you mine in peace. Okay, so we're in the neighbouring system. We'll go in and we'll finish off this event. Now you can see my Explorer there isn't suited to these type of ships, but it's a high enough level that it will do this quite easily. Some of you guys might have noticed by now that I'm playing on my phone. I will probably transfer this to the PC when I get decent enough equipment, and probably play this on the desktop. And that'll be the prime opportunity then to maybe start on a new server with a separate account, just to see how that goes. Simply to explore the development and the changes to the game since I first started playing this game approximately 2 years ago. So if there's any guys from the Alliance or anywhere that are going to check this out, a big hello to them. And you can see from doing these type of things as well, there's the added benefit of getting chests from a higher level hostile than you would maybe prefer to attack. So 2 more of these level 26s will complete this. last one. Now these are Benzar smugglers. You see they're a slightly different mob. These ones give dilithium as a reward. So one of the things I'll do, and if anybody has any suggestions, I'm happy to hear them now. I'm going to try and finish the mission that I failed. In this Centurion, I could call back one of those envoys, perhaps kit out the Kera, and go and finish that mission, perhaps with a stronger officer setup. So there's that event completed. We'll take a quick look at the Alliance standings and see where we are at. So every little bit helps. And the rewards just on that, you can check this for yourself. But right now, that's what we're looking at. Scotty, Sulu and Bones. 15, 25 and 25. You can see there that would allow me to upgrade Bones. But I'll still be waiting a while with Sulu and Scotty. And of course, the Alliance credits are always handy. In the Alliance store, those 500 credits for second place would allow the purchase of 2 boxes of Ultra Recruit tokens, which would total to 100 Ultra Recruit tokens. It's not worth it for some people. Some people prefer to spend it in shields. I'm lucky enough to have stockpiled some of my shields, so I can spend it on recruit tokens. So we'll call this ship back. We may have to use some latinum to repair it. We'll see what we've gathered up inside the base. Now it was half damaged from what I could tell there, so we're talking probably in the region of 30,000 tritanium. Let's see what we get in the boxes. Now, given that these are 26 to 29 I've been hitting, I've got 5 crates. Majority of the rewards are 2-star, which you can probably get off easier hostiles. So thanks for the suggestion, Hugo. I'm going to do that. I just want to see first what the damage is on this ship, because I don't want to spend an overly large amount of the latinum on one repair. So we'll check out what the damage on that is, and I'll recall both of these mining ships to bring in that bit of tritanium. We'll see how that goes down. Now, I heard from a little birdie today that a level 27 guy's after unlocking his Horizon. If anybody who looked at a previous video where I discussed the Horizon, you will see that it says very clearly on it that it's level 28. Requires shipyard level 28. However, when I go into research, I have only 2 pieces of research to do to be in a position to unlock the horizon. Now I've heard you don't need shards for the horizon as well, which would be good news. Okay. So this is saying I need Explorer Focus and Battleship Focus level 1, both of them ready to go, and the main requirement there you can see is dilithium. So for the two of those, just over 200k dilithium. Now the good thing about completing this event, and if we test this theory around the second ship that Hugo's suggesting, and we complete that mission, Combat Training 29 Veteran, you can see there, that's a nice haul of dilithium that will allow me to unlock the horizon. So it would be a nice thing to do before we finish this stream tonight, to unlock that horizon and see if you can get it at an earlier level than 28. So the ship's 1 minute out. I'll call back these miners as well. They'll bring in something in the region of 5-6k titanium, which will help. You can see as well here, guys, there was an officer event on today. I've spent some of my officer EXP. Claimed some of these rewards already. I just don't see the value in spending another 50k for that set of rewards. Hello, Mr. Ship Captain, you're very welcome. So 26k, not quite as bad as I thought. 41 Latinum, let's do it. And we'll change this to the Kera, and we'll tag team this hostile captain when we get to it. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put Cadet Scotty on the bridge because the Kera is only 22 warp. Big hello to you, Silas, as well. You're very welcome. So I'm going to take out a few of these stronger officers out of the mining ship, just for now. Okay, so this is the ship that's going to go back out and mine some titanium. Okay, so let's equip the Kera. If anybody has a special request who they would like to see on the bridge, feel free. I'm just going to mess about with a couple of different configurations here to start with and see how it looks. Okay, so we can see Cadet Scotty automatically gets synergy with Cadet McCoy. Now I need to keep Cadet Scotty on this bridge to give me the extra warp for this Kara. So it's really a toss-up now for the captain and the other bridge spot. Now obviously I'm not going to go with McCoy into that captain spot. Crass, being an epic officer, offers some nice abilities in terms of decreasing captain's maneuvers, but that looks like it's more for PvP. I like Vela because he gives overall health to officers. Very rare that I would consider making him the captain. I always find that Chen and Talan seem to be stronger than they would suggest at the very start when you initially look at them. A couple of nice officers here. I've been doing some testing on Vimette and Moreau. Moreau looks like she could be a nice officer in a backup kind of role. So Mr. Ship Captain's asking which is better, Cadet Scotty or normal Scotty. Two very different officers. Cadet Scotty is much sought after, and I would certainly put more effort if I was getting charged for Cadet Scotty or Enterprise Scotty. I'd prefer to charge for Cadet Scotty to get him ranked up as much as possible and as quick as possible, because with Cadet Scotty you get this warp distance ability, and the stronger he gets, the better that will be. So the greater the warp capacity you can offer to a ship, the better. Now, it used to be the case in beta that Hadley offered extra warp range as well, but that was obviously a bug, and they fixed that now. But what our alliance did was tried to maintain, in the event rewards that offered Hadley, we tried to maintain our position just in the right spot that gave you Hadley, because not all rewards offered Hadley, simply so that we could see if he was the same in terms of what he offered during beta, and he's not. They fixed this now, so he only improves warp speed. There are different people commenting on how that works, but suffice to say he doesn't offer warp distance anymore. So Hadley's now no longer one of the officers that you'd be particularly keen on. It's Cadet Scotty, and the only one that offers warp improvements in terms of distance at all. Okay. Now I like Emerald. She offers an attack bonus of 20%. You can see there with that kind of setup, there's no synergy there, and it's not making the ship as strong as it could be. So it looks like most of the officers have some sort of difficulty with their abilities in terms of special features like the burning for Nero and different things like that there. They don't always work. I think Hugo has made a suggestion there earlier on about how the mining officer abilities don't work. So Hugo might be able to shed a little bit of light on that. I think he's done a bit of testing. But suffice to say, officers and other features in this game are still way below par in terms of the sort of game this is, asking people to spend money. There's a lot of people out there that I'd be aware of that they refuse to spend any more money on this game until many of these bugs are ironed out. You're very welcome, Happy Moo Cow. I think you messaged me on Discord a little while ago and it came up on the stream. Good to see you. Okay, so I'm going to finish repairing this ship and we'll look at the officer configuration first of all on the Centurion, because the Centurion will be the second ship that goes in to defeat this hostile captain. You can see that's a full Enterprise crew setup. Now I have Nero and some of his guys in the lower decks, not on the bridge, so I might just pull them out for other reasonably strong officers from the Enterprise, like Mr. Sulu. See, that drops it by 2%. Might not be the wisest move. Can stick Crass in there, see how he goes. Okay, he brings it back up a little. Okay, that's not working there. Mr. Sulu can... No. Okay, so Bones is an option there, even for the bridge. But clearly drops the strength of the ship. So both ships are ready to go. We'll take one last look at the Kara. And what we'll do just for the fun of it, I think, is we will stick Vimet. Maybe Nero. Let's see what Nero does. Yeah, we'll go with Nero. Seeing as I mentioned Vela earlier, we'll give that synergy. That increases the overall strength of that ship. So we'll go with that for the Kara. So where is this mission located at? Okay, Federation space. This can be quite tricky because there will be hostile Federation ships coming after me. So I might need to give them a wee bit of the runaround. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes here to mess about with other stuff, guys, for them ships get there. We'll take a quick look at what missions are available in this system. So Federation missions. I'm more interested right now in Romulan missions because I want to get these faction credits from Romulans. And of course the reason for that is to go after these Valkis blueprints. I could convert some Latinum, but that's quite steep for 40 credits. I wouldn't be long running out of Latinum if I was using it for faction credits, so I'll never spend Latinum on faction credits unless it's for that very last little bit to get me over the line for that faction minor. Tritanium's a big demand at the moment. I've already done my refines for today, so I won't get any more out of that. I'll take a quick look at what it is for Ops 27. So it's not too bad in terms of the titanium and dilithium requirements. Easy enough to obtain those amounts. The power steel is the big requirement there, but again, shouldn't take too long to do that. So I might level up Ops 27 relatively soon. Now, I'll be better spending those kind of 7 million power steel there than on this mission, for example. That keeps popping up here. Now this mission, it's bugged in some way. I've contacted support about it, and they say it is working as it should. But that's a typical response that you get. And you can see it clearly says there to donate 150,000 power steel. So you could live with that. I try to donate, and I don't have the resources, because it's requiring 5 million. Now the rewards for that mission, building orders, donate 5 million, 10,000 ship EXP. Outrageous ratio of reward to outlay in terms of that mission, and it's not the only mission of its kind that's asking for huge amounts of a certain resource for a pretty miserable set of resources in return. So that, in terms of game balance, is something that the developers would seriously need to look at, but they don't show any appetite right now, from what I can tell, to do that. So when this Centurion arrives before the Kera, we're probably going to have to go into that system and give it a run around that system when the hostile ships start to go for me. So we'll look just at the requirements here again. Uncommon G3 and common G3, both ore. So the easiest place to get your ore is in Romulan space. So if you're hostile with the Romulans and you get to the point of needing to do that, that's gonna probably be tough. However, I would say that the refining rates that exist now in the game compared to this time last year or before that are much improved. I find them much improved. I find that I'm able to build up my G3 quite steadily and mine it quite regularly with little or no hassle. There's a lot more nodes for G3. G3 is much easier to get now than it used to be. So compared to what this game was last year, the G3 requirements on the builds are not something that I would be so worried about if you're going free to play or down the road of minimal spend on a game like this. And the way this used to be is you used to get your first set of G3 refines, then as you got higher level, around level 20, and then it gets a little bit higher, and I was able to refine 3 batches of each before the last update, once I hit level 26, only to find that with the update then I was back to 2 batches. Once you get that option of a second batch, it starts to get a lot easier. Okay, I'm not sure how that works, Alex. If you'd like to explain there, I'd be very interested to hear a little bit more on that. It's not something I've come across before, but there are so many changes still being made to this game that a lot of people who've been playing it for a long time are still figuring out how some of these things have been changed and how they work now currently. There's been a large store of knowledge lost for this game, pages of Discord, pages of information that are just useless now because of the changes that are made, and a lot of time and effort gone into testing things that are no longer relevant. But I guess that's the job of anybody who's doing the beta testing. That's what you're there for. Can't grumble too much. Okay, so this Centurion's 2 minutes out. The last thing we want to do here is ignore that ship sitting in that system and end up with another repair bill of 60 or 70,000 Tritanium, which I don't have. So if somebody wants to cue the Benny Hill music when that Centurion arrives, feel free. So the plan here is defeat this hostile captain, see how that works. If that works out the way we hope, use that dilithium on research on explorer focus and battleship focus. You can see from the G3 that's required for these as well. I was struggling a couple of months ago for G3, but with the extra refine options, it's not such a problem anymore. So once you get up to levels, the G3 does seem to get easier. So I need just over 200k dilithium, and see if we can get this before this stream is over. Now, the requirements to upgrade the Horizon then are another thing entirely, and that's something I might just make a video on at some point in the future. But suffice to say, where I am at in this game right now, that's roughly around what my strongest envoy is there. 50k, 51k, depending on the officers in. 180,000 in cargo hold with stun on the bridge. The Horizon comes in as a better option after a few tiers of upgrade for raiding bases. And that envoy just isn't cutting the mustard when it comes to trying to get those resources out of bases that have already been cracked open. And anybody who's been watching the high level gameplay, you can see guys are out there with 150k, 140 minimum, probably 120 maybe, filling their cargo holds with the resources required to further your upgrades. So you can see this guy's after me now. See what strength he's at. He's a level 27, so he mightn't be too bad, but we don't want to lose any of our health. So we'll give this guy the runaround until the Kera arrives. The Kera itself then will probably have another hostile after it. So in terms of any refining options, guys, I find that I have larger amounts of G3 or raw materials than I've had for a long time in this game. So I have the luxury of doing the middle batch, the 15k batch or the 50k batch. You're talking. Some people talk about G2. G3 is the same principle. If you have a lot of raw materials and you can mine more quite easily, and it's building up in your inventory and you're wondering what the best to use is, then it's a percentage chance. There's a certain amount of random behavior in the algorithms behind this, I think, and when you hit the button, there's a certain amount of the materials is always going to drop, and it's a percentage chance. So that basically means that you can't predict what's going to come out. So if you're opening 3 crates, obviously, or you're refining 3 batches, obviously you've 3 times the chance to get the uncommon, the rare, or whatever it is you're after. It doesn't necessarily mean that opening 3 batches is better, it just means you have a greater chance. So for that reason, if you're not in desperate need and you're finding that the raw materials for this are not quite what you want, or you're not accruing it at a speed that you would like, then avoid the 3 crates, avoid 50k, go with the lower amounts. Slow and steady will win the race. Now you see I'm having this bug with the Kera again. Now, Phil had suggested to me that what you can do is, and I've been hit. Okay guys, this is going to take a little bit longer. No, that's not letting me use Latinum. Let's call this ship back. So obviously that's bugged there. It takes a lot more than 36k. Well, not a lot more, but it takes more than what it's advertised there. We'll keep the other ship going around. Okay, I should be able to do this now because I've brought in an extra 800 into my inventory. It's still not enough. Let's see if this does it. Could be the lithium that it's short on. There we go. So we'll keep running this Centurion round in circles, keeping this hostile off our back. Last effort was a bit of a disaster going into hostile space. So I think I unlocked my G3 refining around level 20. Somebody else might be able to comment who's closer to that level now. There have been changes to the game since I was that level, so there are others who can speak with more authority on that. So I want to thank Malinari for assisting me with this live stream today. Slightly more tech oriented than I am, and this wouldn't be possible without his input. So he's moderating on some of the chat there, guys, so I want to give him a big thank you. Someday, if this works out the way I hope and I get the right equipment, some of that's in the post as we speak, be able to do some streams on other forms of gameplay and other games. There's a few ideas in the pipeline, and diversify a little bit maybe away from mobile games to PC or other platforms. I don't plan to move away from Fleet Command just yet. I've been at it a long time, but you can see I've got quite a few videos up there now. I'll continue to do that, but it's nice sometimes to make a change and see what other people are interested in terms of gameplay and style of gameplay and what people are into. I'm going to put this Centurion over here out of the way for a second and send this miner back out. That'll do. So, time to move them down another bit. So I still need to do a bit of unlocking of some systems. Some of these newer systems I haven't visited yet. There was a time I used to live up in Wolf here. It was a handy place to get various different resources, but they've changed what's in some of these systems. And now that the Federation are hostile, it's not really an option anymore. And I know some of the higher gauge are going for deep space, which is up here somewhere. And later on in the game, there's certain mission lines and certain requirements. I think tricorders are a requirement to be able to unlock deep space and get out into these very high level systems. So that's something for the future, even for me. So you see these hostiles, that they're quite slow, but they can creep up on you. Very handy if you're not paying attention, which is what happened to that Kera. So there's a wee trick as well. Maybe it's part of the game, maybe it was intended like that, but there's a wee trick in terms of mining in a hostile system where I found that I was down mining crystal with the NPC that, or the officer that that's dedicated to crystal. I can't think of his name right now. So he's the Klingon that does the G3 crystal mining, or he's crystal dedicated. See if we can find him here. Barot. So Barot is focused on crystal. So I put him at the helm of the bridge, up against hostile Klingons in hostile space. It was the only place I could find the G3 crystal. Sent the ship down, and as expected, I was getting the warning to say that I'm in hostile space and there's a ship sent out to attack me. But because I'd sent it in a strong enough envoy like this one, I was able to survive the hit in the lower level hostile system of Frankic, which is a level 20 system. So the hostiles that were coming after me weren't much higher than that, and I was able to survive that initial hit. And I found that after that I was left to mine in peace. Now that could mean that after you've defeated the ship that's after you, you can be left alone entirely. That may very well be possible. I haven't been brave enough to go and test that. I've just stuck to what worked. I always stuck Barot on the bridge, sent him into Klingon space, and left it at that. There may be a possibility there that it's because he's Klingon or different things like that. I haven't explored that too much, but suffice to say that you can mine in hostile territory. That's something I could maybe try and illustrate just before we finish this stream as well. See how long it takes for this guy to get down to Frankic 20. still 6 minutes with the Kara out. We just need to keep an eye on this Centurion, but certainly we can test this now and I can just demonstrate. So to be safe, I could go with somebody else. And I don't have Barat is in one of the other ships, so it looks like it's Kabish. So just to see if it works, we'll put Stun on the bridge, on the captain's chair, and we will send this miner down to Klingon space, to Frankic 20, and see how he fares. So there it is there. There's 3 free mines. Now, just for this purposes, guys, I'm going to warp to mine. I don't, and I can't because I am in Kaisu 30. I forgot I'd moved up there. So, warp range of 22 is not going to cut that. If I have a chance before we finish the stream, I might relocate the base and see how that works. So hopefully this works out. Whether it does work out or doesn't work out, I have 5 minutes left on this Kara. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This could be another disaster and I might have to try it again and get some more resources. If we manage to keep this Kara alive and get in on this hostile captain, hopefully we can finish that stream with repair or researching the 2 things that I showed you earlier, and hopefully unlocking that horizon. So in terms of the other aspects of the game, guys, if anybody has any other questions or anything like that, now would be the time, because I'm giving this roughly about 10 minutes and I'm going to wrap it up then. That won't be enough time if this Kara gets destroyed or the Centurion gets destroyed to send them back out again, unless I jump base. We'll see how we get on in the next 10 minutes. Worst case scenario, if we have 4 minutes left, I'll jump base close to this hostile and see how I do in Federation space. You can go to that place here maybe. There's a red flash around one of them, around Missy there. I don't know if there's a ship moving in on her, or if that's just one of the features of the game, but she may be about to get attacked. And this guy's closing in on me, so we'll move on up here. Now for this kind of style of gameplay, guys, what you're advised to do, that you've seen the last time that Kara was there, which didn't help matters in the bug in terms of it coming into the system, and it was stuck in warp essentially. You're supposed to restart the game, log out, clear cache, all of that. I may try that, but it's risky. Now you can see there that the ship is showing as though it's in the system already. It's very frustrating times like this, guys, when you're trying to complete a mission or you're doing something like this and there's a bug in the game that's costing you resources, costing you time and effort, and when the support, when you contact them, just tell you that they're working on a fix and they won't reimburse resources that you have lost due to this bug. Hopefully it'll be sorted out soon, but it's not very good, certainly if you're trying to stream some gameplay and it happens. So what they suggest to do in such a situation where a ship is stuck in warp like that is to clear the cache. And I think my Centurion has been hit. Okay, so the restart has happened, probably too late. If that is the Kara again, then that's simply down to that bug, and we'll just have to force repair that and jump base. So you can see the clearing the cache certainly didn't help me there, and it was the Kara. And anybody who was looking at that could clearly see there was 2 minutes on the timer for the Kara. Centurion's still kicking. And again, I don't want to be spending too much of this latinum. And unfortunately, it probably will take too long to send this Centurion home and jump base. I need to destroy it, and I don't have the resources to fix both of them ships, and we're running short on time. And a 5-minute speed up out of a 4-hour chest is not exactly exciting, but every little helps. Now, so I'm not going to send this ship down. We're running low on time here. Let's see what it takes to recall this Centurion. I suppose I could just destroy it. How much latinum I've got? Right. Let's hit this guy head on, and we'll try and jump the base. So the sound has gone, I can't hear any. Okay, so we beat that guy. I suppose just to send that Centurion home and fix it. Just to make sure that the ship is destroyed. So Wicked Googly, it was something I was discussing earlier in the messages under one of my videos with Hugo around some of the officer abilities that just don't seem to activate and whether there's an issue around that. So there's more testing across the game that's needed on this, because there's mixed opinion on which officers do what and when, and that a lot of these officer abilities don't work, particularly in relation to miners and timers and all sorts of things like so. I'm going to jump this base to here. Okay. This is much more straightforward. Perhaps arguably should have done this at the start, but then all you guys wouldn't have been so entertained by my constant failures. So here we go. Kara first, quickly followed by Centurion. No time for the hostiles to even come and find me. And straight in afterwards with the Centurion. And we'll see if this works. There we go. Credit to Hugo for suggesting that strategy. We pick up this lovely dilithium. Some ultra recruit tokens there too. Vix is ready to be upgraded, and some 16 3-hour speed ups, which isn't too shabby, guys, and makes up a lot for some of that messing about to try to get here in the first place. So we recall these ships. We'll jump straight into research. Go with this. Speed that up. Some of those 3-hour speed ups are certainly handy now. And we're nearly there. And there we go, we can finally see if the horizon can be got below level 28. So we're almost ready to finish, guys. This would be a really nice way to finish my first ever stream if I got a nice surprise here and found out that I can actually get this horizon. There's 10 seconds left in that timer. I want to thank everybody for showing up and participating in the chat. I want to thank all you guys who've been following the videos so far. And I'll be back again shortly with another video, a pre-recorded one with none of the risks involved in playing on your phone while you try to stream. So you see there I got another Kirk shard. I'm getting close to that. That Kirk-Spock combination is drawing ever closer. The horizon is done. So let's check this out. And there we go, the horizon can indeed be built before level 28. So I'm not going to build it right now. I'll come back with another video on that, guys. I'm going to go out and farm some of this titanium, and we will look at it in a future video at some of the upgrades onto the horizon, and look at the horizon as a stopgap between a faction miner and an envoy, because the thoughts out there on the North Star right now are not too positive, and it looks like the horizon is still what you're going to be aiming for before you get a faction miner, and this clearly shows that you can get it before you hit level 28. So thanks very much, guys, for tuning in. Apologies for any of the hiccups that we encountered. I'll do a little bit of editing on this because a few text messages and stuff came through on that phone. I should have switched those things off, but we live and we learn. And yeah, I'll catch you guys again some stage in the future. Appreciate all of the comments and input from everybody. Keep it up and feel free to discuss in the threads and the comments below any videos, giving help and assistance to each other. So once again, cheers. I'll chat to you soon.